As I record this, we're a few days out from the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, where he had been accused of killing two protesters. Well, he killed two protesters in Wisconsin, accused of murder, and found not guilty. It was a judgment that saddened and disappointed many, but didn't surprise anybody from the black community. Justice is blind, we've always been told, and have to believe, are forced to believe. Yet this trial said anything but. Kyle Rittenhouse, to put things in perspective, at the time was a minor, 17 years old, in possession of an assault weapon bought to him by a friend of his who was an adult. That in itself was illegal. He was driven across state lines by his mother in possession of that assault weapon. That too in itself was illegal. On the night in question, Kyle Rittenhouse, who has positioned himself as a police-loving, community-protecting citizen, shot and killed two people in full view and seemingly in full support of law enforcement on the night. Yet despite everything that led up to that fateful night and everything that resulted from a minor being in possession of an assault weapon, a weapon designed for war, and being driven across state lines by his mother, despite people losing their lives, not one person will spend a day in jail or serve any kind of punishment for it. Two people are dead. Justice is blind, they say. As disappointing as it was, as heartbreaking as it continues to be, as difficult as it may be to people like me in the black community, and in particular, parents of young black children and black males, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised given how the justice system seems to work and work differently. Justice is blind, they say, but everything about this suggested differently. The judge wouldn't allow the victims to be referred to as victims because he felt that that language was prejudicial. But he was okay with them being referred to as rioters or looters. Everything about the case, as positioned by the judge, seemed to lean into and protect Kyle Rittenhouse. As a father of black children, I cannot help but compare that to the death of Trayvon Martin, also 17 years old when he was killed at the hands of another self-positioned community protector. Trayvon Martin was wearing a hoodie. The press positioned him as a thug, as being intimidating, and intentionally so by wearing his hoodie up. And here's a challenge for me as a father to black children. How do I say to my young son that he is perceived by law enforcement and will be portrayed by the media as being a greater threat in wearing a hoodie than his white friends will be in carrying a weapon of war? How can I say to my children that justice is blind, that we are all equal in the eyes of the law? How can I say to my children that Tamir Rice, a 12-year-old with a toy gun outside a playground, was shot within seconds of police arrival? Young 12-year-old black kid, might I add, was shot within seconds of police arrival at that playground. Every police officer was found not guilty on the day. Yet Kyle Rittenhouse, a 17-year-old with a weapon of war, was waved on and encouraged by the police and has now been protected by the judicial system. What's blind about that? What is fair about that? What is encouraging to me as a parent about that? And this is a challenge that we find ourselves in today. This has been part of the focus of our work at SRtRC Red Card for the last 25 years. And while we can boast of and celebrate a lot of progress being made and continue to do so, days like this, weeks like this, point to how much further we have to go. And while we coil at suggestions and the use of terms such as institutionalized racism, how else are we to portray the Kyle Rittenhouse trial? How else are we to portray the differences between Kyle Rittenhouse and Trayvon Martin? That is where we are today. That is our calling. That has to be our focus. Delivering on the promise of these freedoms, of a fair judicial system, of one that is truly blind.